Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on X at Movies TV Mad and on Instagram and on Threads at Movies TV Mad X. A very warm welcome to Tuesday's edition of the DC Universe Daily. As you can see behind me, we're going to be talking about the Flash, Grant Gustin, and the Flash's future in DC Universe. And what is that? What does it look like after the Flash movie? Don't forget, the Flash movie was used as a backdoor to create James Gunn's and Peter Safran's DC Universe. So it came to my attention yesterday that at a convention, former Barry Allen and the Flash, Grant Gustin, an actor I have a lot of time for, said he'd be more than willing to play the Flash and Barry Allen again in James Gunn's DCU, and said he trusts James Gunn. I think that's cool. I think that would be really good. I would be up for that. But what do you think? Comment down below while I'm rabbiting on and giving you my views about this. Would you like to see Grant Gustin playing Barry Allen in DC Universe? Listen, actors want to work. Of course he's going to say he wants to do it. It's cool that he said he trusts James Gunn. But more than likely, this has no place in reality and will never happen. It's just an actor saying, hey, yeah, of course, I'd like to work. I'd like to see it happen, right? But I can't see it happening. But what would I like to see with the Flash in DC Universe? Now, I said after the Flash movie, and during my review for that movie damaged the reputation of this character in live action. If I'm going to be blatantly honest with you, the casting of Ezra Miller as this character was a mistake. The DCEU didn't handle, Barry Allen and the Flash very well. That's my opinion. You can love Ezra. I think that Ezra Miller is the weakest DC casting in the DCEU. That's a shame because Zack Snyder's other DC castings were outstanding. Jason Momoa, Henry Cavill, Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, Ray Fisher, all brilliant. Amy Adams, Michael Shannon. I could go on. Absolutely fantastic. So why did Zack Snyder make such an ill-advised casting such as Ezra Miller? I believe he saw a damaged young man and wanted to give him a chance. And that's part of Zack's humanity. Zack adopted children, and this helped those children. And, he's a very compassionate guy. And it's very, very interesting. While Ezra was working with Zack, he was in a good place. They were in a good place. But it all went wrong when Zack Snyder left the building. But to be clear, I don't think that Ezra Miller is a good or great Barry Allen or the Flash. Yes, I concede that moment that won the Cheer Award for the Oscars for the Snyder Cut is outstanding. It's a great hero moment because Zack Snyder shot it beautifully. Not because Ezra Miller is a great Flash. That is my opinion. There's no way Ezra Miller will play this character again unless they do a Crisis on Infinite Earths or whatever. I don't know what James Gunn is planning. But I would think right now that James hasn't got many plans for the Flash right now because of the damage done with the Flash movie. So the DCEU didn't do a very good job of the Flash. In my opinion, they had a great director coming in to do a Flashpoint movie. Zack had plans and it didn't come to fruition. Maybe Ezra Miller would have been amazing in the original plans, and having Cyborg in that movie and all the plans they were going to make. I thought Ezra Miller was cool in that Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover. I thought that was an exciting time. We all thought that meant that Grant Gustin would play a big role in the Flash movie, which he should have done. What happened to all of that? We'll never know. So the Flash wasn't great in the DCEU. I'm not going to say we had a crap, bad Flash in the DCEU, but it wasn't as good as it could have been. And Grant Gustin, for me, is a much better Barry Allen and a much better version of the Flash than Ezra Miller was. And I'd love to see Grant be involved in DCU. And if that happens, I'll celebrate that, but I don't expect that to happen. If it were me, and I've said this before, I would rest Barry Allen and I would look to build the Flash family beginning with Wally West, but I'd be a lot more comic book accurate than the Flash TV show was. Despite what's his name? Grant Gustin. Despite Grant Gustin being a brilliant version of the Flash and Barry Allen from the beginning of the show to the 8th and final season, the show went off the deep end and fucked that character up. And basically it became very, very, you know, what can I say? It became very diverse. It became all about, you know, inclusion and representation. And it didn't really, it wasn't, you know, the show, like the rest of Arrowverse, that all started very well. Arrow started very well. The Flash started well, but then they fucked it up. And it became something that was unwatchable. I stopped watching it, I think, after the 4th series, which was a shame. Because as I say, he was a great version of the character. But I think James Gunn has a big job on his hands to rebuild the Flash IP. And hopefully he's capable of doing that. We'll see what he's capable of and what he's not capable of when we, you know, when we see Superman Legacy, when we see the costume. We were talking about that on Monday's edition of the show and how vital that will be when the Superman costume is revealed in Superman Legacy. It will reveal to us if James Gunn's going to give us a great version of Superman. I'm looking forward to finding out what the Fortress of Solitude is going to look like. We know they're going to film in Norway. They're actually going to, you know, film that in Arctic conditions. So that's very exciting, instead of it all being CGI. But back to the Flash, it's going to be very, very important. That's why, for me, if it were me and I had the responsibility of rebuilding the Flash, I would slowly build the Flash family and I would begin with Wally West. Because, you know, in terms of live action, apart from, you know, we saw a version of Wally in the Flash and he's okay. I liked what they did with him, but again, it could have been somewhat better and he wasn't there all the time. And I think there's an opportunity here to begin with Wally West and to introduce Barry Allen later on. There's lots of different versions of the Flash that you can use. I am not a comic book expert, as I've said before. So again, in the comments down below, tell me a bit about the Flash. What other characters, apart from Barry Allen, would you like James Gunn to introduce into the DCU? I think it could be so many, you know, it could be so many other things. Apparently, according to some people, some scoopers, if we just change the subject for a split second, just giving you an update, Booster Gold is apparently being cast. Some people believe it's Chris Pratt. I think Chris will be an excellent Booster Gold. I'm not sure about that, but I'm excited to see what Booster Gold is like as well. So there's no question, James Gunn is building this universe out his way. And it's exciting to see what he does. But the Flash is as huge as Superman, and as Batman, and as Wonder Woman. We don't even know who's going to be playing Wonder Woman in DC Universe. And, you know, things are very quiet on the Flash, which is very, very interesting indeed. Because let's go to the Flash movie and see where James Gunn, because James Gunn was very much involved in the version of the Flash movie we got. And in the end, Barry sees George Clooney as Bruce Wayne. And it's not Michael Keaton and it's not Ben Affleck. So it could be that Ezra's version of the Flash is stuck, you know, in the Elseworld, in another universe. That's not DC Universe. I don't think that's the DCU where Ezra Miller ends up. And I think that was purposely done so he doesn't have to use Ezra. Who would want to use Ezra after all, you know, the public relations disaster. There's no question. One of the reasons, one of many reasons that film flopped is because of what was going on with Ezra Miller in the real world. The publicity was terrible because when you're playing a character like this, you've got to keep it clean. You've got to have a good reputation. You know, when you like Christopher Reeve or Tom Welling playing, you know, Clark Kent, Superman, you know, Tyler Hoechlin again. You never hear anything bad about him. And so I think that's important. I think, I know it's a lot to ask of a human being to keep their reputation clean while they're playing a fictional character. But these responsibilities, you know, come with playing these roles. And I think that's utterly important. So I think Barry Allen will eventually be recast. I think that James will, you know, James understands how important the Flash is. And the Flash is a very, very important character. We know what he's doing with the Lanterns. We know there's a TV show. We're getting a Guy Gardner in Superman Legacy. So there's actual plans for the Green Lantern Corps. And it'd be interesting to see, you know, what happens there. But yeah, with the Flash, it's going to take a lot of hard work to rebuild the damage that was done to that character. And this was one of many problems with the DCEU, because we saw what they did to Ezra Miller and Barry Allen with Justice League. They made him into a joke. Well, Barry Allen isn't a court jester. Barry Allen isn't a joker. I think that Bruce Timm's animated versions of The Flash and Barry Allen are more kind of accurate to what Barry is in the comics. So it's very, very important we rebuild this character. And as I say, I think that Grant Gustin is a beloved version of the Flash, a much more beloved version of the Flash. Now, us lot, you and I had many, many debates during the build-up of the excuse me, during the build-up of the Flash movie, where some people, there were rumours out there that Grant Gustin was going to replace Ezra Miller in the Flash movie. Of course, that wasn't possible. They would have had to have started again and shoot the entire movie with Barry Allen, with Grant Gustin as Barry Allen. But probably, I mean, that would have cost a lot more money. And would it have brought money? Listen, to do that, they would have had to have rewritten that entire movie and make it a better movie. Because for me, it wasn't a very good movie. It's, you know, it's a downgrade, like Wonder Woman 84, like Birds of Prey. It isn't one of my favourite DCEU movies. It just simply didn't work for me. There's some good things there. Supergirl, Keaton's Batman was okay. But at the end of the day, for me, it wasn't a viable movie. And they lied to us about that movie. There was whispers about it being the next Dark Knight. Stephen King saying he doesn't normally watch superhero movies, but he liked that one. I don't believe you, Stephen. It's only your connection through Andres Muschietti when he did It and It Chapter 2. Because obviously the novel was written by Stephen King. Get the connection there. You always got to look to connections. Why would Stephen King start saying that a bad movie was great? Whispers that Tom Cruise loved the Flash movie. Surprise, surprise, he's now got a deal with Warner Brothers Discovery. See the connection. This is what you've got to do with this industry. You've always got to be utterly cynical when things don't make sense. Why would Tom Cruise start talking about the Flash movie? Apparently. We got no evidence that he actually liked the Flash movie, but surprise, surprise, he was negotiating a deal with Warner Brothers Discovery. He allowed them to use his name to promote the Flash movie. Now we know why. We know the connections why Stephen King was saying it was a good movie as well. Even James Gunn being economical with the truth and saying it's one of the best films in the genre. It was not one of the best films in the genre. Even if you're a fan of the Flash movie, you can't say it's one of the best films in the genre. There's things about it I like. Some of the VFX was great. Some of it was bad. The film was a mishmash. It did a lot of damage to the Flash character and the Flash IP. And James Gunn has to fix that. It's as simple as that. Let me just take a little break from what we're talking about to thank you. I'm a very, very small YouTuber. And when I don't check my analytics, I can't be bothered. As you know, I come in, I say my bit, and I get on with my life. The other day I went on my page and I noticed my subscribers have gone up from 1.26k to 1.27. Now, they're not big numbers. But for me, a small YouTuber, to go up instead of down is very, very gratifying, no matter how small that increase is. It says that some people out there who watch my videos appreciate me being myself. Because the problem is with YouTube right now, there's a lot of people becoming characters, pretending to be people they're not, acting and performing while they do their videos. I am an actor. I can do that. You know, I can create a caricature for you if you want, but it wouldn't be me. And I can say things that I don't mean, but it wouldn't be me. And I wouldn't enjoy that. Maybe that would make me successful, but I wouldn't enjoy doing that. My motivation for coming in every day and doing these videos is to talk about things like The Flash. I'm enjoying, you know, doing this step-by-step journey to Superman Legacy. This film is incredibly important to me. It's filled me with a lot of joy and pride to see people being excited about Superman again. He's my favourite character in fiction. I like the fact that everyone's talking about this movie and is hyped for this movie and has expectations of this movie. Be very careful with your expectations. I remember my expectations for Superman Returns being up there. Now, when I saw Superman Returns, I wasn't exactly underwhelmed or disappointed, but I did build up the movie. It was going to be the first Superman movie in 20 years. Superman Legacy, if and when it comes out next year, that's around what? Just over 10 years. When is it? Hang on. 2013, Man of Steel. Yeah, just over 10 years, right? Since the last Superman movie. So there hasn't been a big space since the last one. But don't forget, we also had BVS after that. We had Zack Snyder's Justice League. We had Cavill cameo in Black Adam. So there hasn't been that big a space since we've seen Superman on the big screen. But it's still been a while since we've seen a proper bona fiable Superman movie. And also we've got Superman and Lois. So we've had a lot of Superman in media recently. So it's not the same as Superman Returns. Superman Returns was the first Superman movie in 20 years since Superman for the Quest for Peace, which was a disappointment and a flop, but a film I hold close to my heart because I think it's okay in places. But yeah, it wasn't a great moment for Superman, and it killed the franchise, which was very sad for Superman fans like myself. But a lot's gone down with Superman, right? All the issues with Cavill, benching him, bringing him back, then retiring him as Superman. A lot of Superman water has gone under the bridge. So it's a very, it's a very exciting time to be a Superman fan, to be a DC fan, because we hope that James Gunn can give us a great Superman. And I think that's very, very important for all Superman fans and all DC fans out there. Even those of you that claim you're going to boycott the movie, that you want Cavill back, that you're not happy. I think if you see a great movie, you will embrace that movie. And it's very interesting. Because James Gunn, before Guardians of the Galaxy, had done stuff before, like Scooby-Doo and the Zack Snyder zombie movie. But he wasn't famous. He wasn't well known. He came from nowhere and he became utterly famous. And I think he never handled that fame very well because he was being stanned. People all of a sudden loved him, giving him attention on the internet and on social media. And then he was fired from Disney because he upset the wrong people. And then all of a sudden, DC, WB, gave him a route back into the industry and said, do whatever you want, but we also want you to write for us a Superman movie. And this is why he's doing Superman Legacy. I think if Disney never fired him, he wouldn't be co-CEO of DC Studios today. So it's been a very interesting journey for James Gunn. And he knows this. This is just a geek and a nerd who loves to write, loves to direct, who knows this stuff, who loves this stuff. But can he reinvigorate DC? Can he reinvigorate Superman? Can he make Superman a billion-dollar property? Since Superman the movie and Superman 2, and since the Reva era, so many people have tried, not so many, but there's been attempts to make Superman movies. Some never saw the light of day, and Superman Returns, Man of Steel, BVS did see the light of day. Some loved those iterations, some didn't, but they weren't the success that the studio needed them to be. So, can James Gunn give us a classic Superman movie? That's a question that I can't answer. A lot of content creators out there will tell you it's going to be great, it's going to be bad, it's going to succeed, it's going to fail. They'll tell you whatever they want it to be, just to help them sleep at night. I'm not going to give you a definitive answer whether Superman Legacy is going to be a great movie. Because as I've said many times, I don't know. That's the exciting thing about a film, a TV show, a work of art being in development and in production and being made. We simply don't know. We infuse, we anticipate, and we hope we're going to see something utterly special. But we simply don't know. One thing we do know, that Superman Legacy must be successful for DC Universe to continue. And as I've said many times as well, this will be the making and breaking of Warner Brothers Discovery, because Barbie, Wonka and Dune 2 have seen back-to-back successes for WB. Because even though Dune 2 hasn't been released, we've seen the hype for it online, on social media, that movie is going to make at least around 700 million globally, and it could make even more money. So that's good for Zaslav and Discovery. And whether your agenda is for them to keep on losing money, for their share prices to keep on going down, as it is right now, there's no question. They're rebuilding the WB brand, whether you want them to or not. And the next chapter of this is DC Universe and Superman Legacy. Because if Superman Legacy succeeds, it continues to rebuild the WB brand. And because I love DC, because I've been a WB fan since I was a little boy, since Looney Tunes and Superman and Batman 66, and all these different things that Warner Brothers made, I want Warner Brothers to be the studio they used to be. David Zaslav at the Financial Call said that Warner Brothers is the only studio right now telling stories. That's an interesting claim. I suppose to a point, he's got a point, if you think about it. I'm not sure about Barbie. I suppose within True Detective, the latest iteration of Game of Thrones, that's done well, House of Dragons, and Dune is telling a great story. And Wonka is telling a great story. It's an adaptation. They did well. I've seen it. It's a great movie. And this deal with Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise has already decided what to do with WB. That's exciting. So they are making moves. Better moves than Disney are. There's no question about that. That doesn't mean they're rebuilding Hollywood. But in the journey to rebuild the WB brand, these things are very, very, I suppose, good and positive and exciting. So as a DC fan, I want these things to work. But going back to this guy behind me, The Flash, and Grant Gustin, I think that James Gunn could do great with Grant Gustin and The Flash. I don't see that being his decision. Because we get this a lot. They keep on asking previous actors who worked with him at the MCU and Guardians if they want to work with him at DC. They keep on saying, yeah. That doesn't mean he'll work with them. And his answers are interesting. Yeah, I love that person. And, you know, there was one of his Guardians actors the other day where he was asking people on threads what role should he give them. That's interesting, but I don't know. I'm not sure who comes in and who doesn't. So, yeah, we expect actors to say we'll play that character again. Why wouldn't Grant Gustin want to play the Flash? It made him a household name. And, of course, he played that character for 8 years. You maybe think he'd want to give all that a rest. But I think what actors find when they leave an iconic role, it's very quiet out there. You can be a very successful actor, but when you leave that role, it's very difficult. You get typecast. You know, acting is a very competitive business, and the problem with Hollywood, especially today, it's always the most recognizable people getting the most roles, and that's the problem. They're not casting from outside the industry. So, of course, Grant Gustin would like to play the Flash again. I'd love to see him be the DCU Flash. As I say, I don't see that happening. I don't see anything within the Flash. I mean, we may be surprised. We may see a version of the Flash in Superman Legacy, but there's been no word on the Flash. And as I said earlier, there's a reason for that, because the last Flash movie, the only Flash movie we've ever had, did damage to that character and that IP. So it's important that they give it a break. They let, you know, I'm sure they're making plans for the Flash as we speak. When the Flash character turns up in DCU, I simply don't know. I do know one thing for sure, but Ezra Miller will never play that character again, nor should they. Simple as that. That's just my opinion. There's a lot of things you can do with the Flash. There's a lot of interesting things. And I want to see a more comic accurate version of the Flash. I want to see a great Barry Allen. I want to see a great Wally West. I want to see these great, you know, there's great villains in the Flash that have never really been used in movies. They were used quite well, you know, in the Flash TV series. You know, Wentworth Miller was a great Captain Cold. And there were so many, you know, King Shark. I probably would say that I really like the King Shark in the Flash series. I did like the King Shark in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, but I probably did prefer the King Shark in the Flash TV series, if I'm being honest. So a lot of good things were done within that series, but whether I expect to see Grant Gustin as the Flash, I don't think I will. And I don't expect to see anything within the Flash for a very, very long time. I want the Flash to get a movie. I want the Flash to be involved with DCU as soon as possible, because he's a great character. He's an important character. Then there's Cyborg. I don't expect to see a Cyborg anytime soon, because as soon as that's announced, we know what's going to happen. It's going to be the whole Snyderverse thing again. They're going to definitely give Cyborg a break. They have to give him a break, because if they do it now, you know, Ray Fisher's going to pipe up, and it's very, very difficult. So I think there's certain things that have been done recently within the DCEU that need to be given a break. And that's why Gunn is, you know, they are looking to do Superman. They are doing Batman. Wonder Woman, we don't have a clue. We only know about Paradise Lost, which is a prequel, which I assume won't feature Wonder Woman unless she's narrating that series. Maybe it's Gal Gadot narrating that series. We simply don't know. Gal Gadot claimed that she was talking with Gunn and Safran about doing a movie and consulting with them, but that was kind of denied quietly in certain corners. So nobody knows what's going on. Zaslav, at the beginning when he first took over WB, said that he had big plans for Superman, Batman and Wonder Woman. But all we know about Wonder Woman in DC Universe is Paradise Lost. So, you know, I'm happy with what we've got. I like the fact that James Gunn is walking before he can run. So, focusing on this Superman movie, you know, Brave and the Bold, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. I want Supergirl to be part of this universe. I think she's a great character. If you read her in the comics, she's a much better, more interesting character with a lot more depth than she's ever been done in live action. And I think Millie Alcock will be perfect for what they're going to do. You need great actors, great performers playing these characters. And, you know, David Corenswet, for example, is a guy who wanted to play Superman for a very long time. That's important because if someone has been so hungry and desperate to play a character for such a long time, all of their careers, it means they're going to give us a lot more than they would have than if it's someone who isn't as hungry for the character, who doesn't have as much knowledge on the character. So it is very exciting. There are red flags, but there are things to be excited about. It's all about balance, anticipation, but not deciding something's going to be great without consuming it. Not deciding something's rubbish before you've consumed it. At the very least, give it a chance before you've tasted that sandwich.